Well, good evening. I'm your host, Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. Tonight's podcast is 7 Reasons Why Management's Rah Rah speeches demoralizes the workforce morale. Because the greatest threat to your leadership is never incompetence. It's an illusion. The illusion that rah rah enthusiasm replaces strategy. Because confidence equals wisdom, and that volume earns loyalty. Today, we strip the hype and confront my energetic liberation of energized listening, showing me and the world my leadership acumen, abilities, agility, and audacity to listen and question my daily events, encounters, and experiences, to rise of calm gladiator gumption, energizes my enterprising wizardry, sets me free. Why college education and business education are unrealized limitations when communicating with the workforces. And well, textbook influency is workplace illiteracy. Academic and business jargon may impress in a boardroom, but often alienates those doing the hands-on work, because the production floor and anything done with as physical labor has its own rhetoric. And computerized rhetoric and educated rhetoric does nothing. And it just alienates and disconnects the management and the worker. See, something that is hands-on education or hands-on autodidact entrepreneurship, which is self-educated, has a unique lingo, as does the computers in the boardroom. But education lacks the wisdom. Education is full of knowledge, but a hands-on wisdom has its own rhetoric, and it has an autodidact articulating artistry on how to speak with it. Machines are unique. You can say this, and this, but it comes down to what does this really do? And when you come out there with a rat-a-tat, rah-rah speech, we got to have this done, and we got to do this, and people have been working all out there for weeks at 8-10 hours a day, they don't want to hear your rhetoric. That rah-rah stuff is just blah. And what it really does is it makes them mad and frustrated, and then they're going to stand around for the next 6-7 hours really ridiculing you and making fun of the leadership. Unless you're a sheeple or a follower, you're going to not say anything. And most of the time, I'm going to tell you, the people with a little bit of attitude and a little bit of backbone are your better hands. The ones that are followers and follow you around and say you're doing good and all that, they're the ones that are going to get you in trouble, because they don't have the audacity to express to you what is really going on. And I witnessed this in 36 years of electrical work, watching people do things, but people get caught up in them rah-rah speeches, and you stand up there with your chest out and your head back and your arrogance running. All you're doing is aggravating the worker, and they're gonna work, but they're never going to give you that little bit of extra. I worked for 2 foremen up in Washington. People would bust their butt for them. But you had another foreman that tried to act like your friend, but he wasn't. They worked, but they didn't put out the extra. And I was working a job in Everett, and we had a really good foreman out of Seattle, our project manager. And the job got sideways because there was a whole bunch of stuff at the beginning. And actually the contractor was ready to get kicked off the job. However, that guy running it was such a good person. We not only caught the job up, we brought it in ahead of schedule. And it was all the guys there, not a one of them laid down. They all stood up and walked into work with a good attitude, and we got it done. Management has a lot to do with the attitude of people on the job, because it's easy to make them cross-threaded. And, and then we had a guy on a job in Moses Lake. Everybody went through the motions. And he thought by being he was a butthead. And only ones that worked for him were the sheeple people. And there was no really, there was no camaraderie on that job. Because academic and business jargon may impress in the boardrooms, but it often alienates those with the hands-on work. And see, the boardroom has the knowledge. The hands-on, get-her-done autodidacts, which is the workers, have the wisdom. See, management has knowledge, workers have wisdom. But however, we have been taught through college education and business school that it has to be done the educated way. Well, we have a saying in the union: as soon as college education steps in, everything goes awry. If you want to screw it up, let college education in charge. Look at the world. College education runs the world. When leaders over-rely on polished theories, they can miss the gritty reality and the veracity of the situation their teams navigate daily. Because people physically doing the labor, they have a unique way and a unique way of doing things. And a lot of times, people that lack the daily introduction to the machinery, they have a knowledge way, but they don't have a wise way. And a lot of times, the challenges in a business is management. And the people management make leads or foremen or whatever, because a lot of times they take the best followers, put them as foreman or lead, and then they think they got there by knowledge and not knowing, but they don't realize they got there by being ass kissers. Let's just put it out there. An MBA mindset is an empathy blind spot. Business schools hone strategy but can blunt sensitivity. Focusing too much on metrics or case studies can lead to tone-deaf communications. How do you see that in the working world today? How do you see that in your personal life? And a lot of the stuff I'm going to speak about tonight shows up in your daily life, because that all pertains to your daily life. And when you have tone-deaf communication between the management and the production floor, you pretty soon you're hitting the door because the company went broke. I've been on jobs where the job went broke and everybody blamed labor. Management never stood up and said it was our responsibility, because the labor makes no decisions in the office. But it's easier to blame labor than it is to say I screwed up, and with an egotistical, arrogant, college-educated mindset. When leadership becomes performance connection disappears behind the curtain of uncertainty, and so does credibility. Why authentic leaders listen and ask open-ended questions, invigorating curiosity throughout the workforce, as arrogant leaders express know-it-all ignorance. And here's two crisp, insightful points about that. Curiosity is contagious. Authentic leaders ignite an innovative culture by asking open-ended questions, as our leadership humility invites dialogue, sparkling fresh ingenuity, and empowering innovation excites the workforce to participate and facilitate in the accomplished outcomes together. Exploring the here and now adventures of the situations, they rise out of it and they expand of the outcome and the intentions and all the wisdom and the fresh foresight that's within a situation. As a leader, as instead of fearing mistakes, see, that's what we have, a perfection ingrained world. If you listen to people, they'll talk about somebody else's mistakes or what they do, but they never admit to their own. See, a mistake is an awakening, but it's easier to use your egotistical arrogance and overlook a mistake and blame it on somebody else. Blame is shame, shamming you into the dam of yesterday. Certainty kills growth. When arrogant leaders pretend to know it all, they shut down inquiry and initiative, and the workforce taking the initiative to accomplish the outcome. Leadership ignorance isn't what they don't know, it's in refusing to ask the questions to rise out of it and invigorate a better outcome. Why management's egotistical arrogance? Now, this is also in your personal life. Why management's egotistical arrogance shuts off management leadership abilities through rah rah speeches. Ego turns vision into noise. When leaders center themselves in pep talks, their inflated self-image drowns out clarity and direction. How does that in your personal life also? When your egotistical arrogance shuts off, let your ego turn vision into noise and shuts off your image, invigorates your self-inflated image and drowns out clarity and direction. And that's what we do when you're egotistical arrogance, when you're really telling people how smart you are and everything you know, you're at the end of your road, because that's where it stops. Because talking and knowing and all that is a dead end. When you round out clarity and direction, instead of rallying the team, they unintentionally make the moment about their brilliance and blurring the path forward. Egotistical arrogance, know-it-all ignorance, blurs the path of enlightenment for you to be chauffeured to your trails of triumph. And that's not only in business, that's in your personal life. And I know who's had a bunch of that egotistical arrogance stop him from going anywhere. Pick me. And that's what, when I can express it and understand it's not only the outside world, I have to ask what's inside me. I set me free by asking what's inside me to mature enterprising wizardry to set myself free. I liberate me from me, and that's what this is all about. Self-importance short circuits influence. True leadership inspires action, not applause. Arrogant deliveries alienates teams because leaders appear out of touch. How do you see that in your life? The more they perform, the less they connect. And connection is the currency of a vibrant, entertaining leadership. Lead with humility, never hierarchy. When leaders share the stage instead of stealing it, they make space for the voices at every level. Curiosity becomes the compass, dissolving control. Why management's arrogant body language during rah rah speeches creates demoralizing thinking in the workforce. Posture turns into policy. When leaders flaunt dominance, chin up, chest out, hands on hips, they unknowingly set the tone that hierarchy matters more than harmony. It cues employees to disengage, sensing it's not their rally, it's just a ruler monologue of mockery and thinking they're somebody more than they are. Confidence without humility breaks connection and communication. When a speech feels like a show of ego, the workforce turns out emotionally and physically, and they basically look at you, but they turn their back on you. Arrogant body language interrupts the signal of inclusion, making people feel like tools, not teammates, and part of the and there to accomplish whatever the accomplish a goal. Presence speaks louder than pep. When managers strut, smirk, or stand with crossed arms while delivering motivation, they unintentionally broadcast superiority instead of solidarity. That nonverbal arrogance erodes trust and makes employees feel like spectators, never teammates, are included in the outcome. Ego blocks empathy. Staffs tune out when they sense a performance rather than authentic connection and communication. A puffed up posture may boost the speaker's image, but deflates the morale, signaling, I talk, you listen, and you do what I say, never as I do, rather than emulating, we're in this together. Why management's Rah Rah speeches demoralizes workforce morale. Rah Rah speeches amplify surface level motivation while surpassing genuine engagement, where scripted enthusiasm cycles empty validation as sovereign morale dissolves under imposed rhetoric. Realizing forced optimism overrides attuned leadership, ensuring reactive encouragement sustains disconnection. Where have you experienced this in your life? I have, well, basically at every safety meeting I did, and where structured motivation clings, fearless empowerment magnifies limitless trust, effortlessly rising everybody to a get it done or enjoy the enjoy the enjoy facilitating participating in the outcome. Why management's egotistical arrogance shuts off management's leadership abilities. Now, this ain't only in business. This is or in management. This is in your personal life. I've seen when I was doing this. I seen a lot of this in my life before about 3 years ago when I realized everything I think and know bestows me into egotistical arrogance, scaring me from my dreams. Ego turns vision into noise. When leaders center themselves into pep talks, their inflated self-image drowns out clarity and direction. Self-importance short circuits influence. True leadership inspires action, not applause. If you're giving a speech to get applause and you're the leader of something, you're failing yourself. Arrogant delivery alienates teams, making leaders appear out of touch. And the more the leaders perform, the more they communicate the connection. That is a currency of authentic leadership. You know, something I really understand in my own life. Something you notice when you're doing this, arrogant leadership they stand there with status over substance that blocks the communicating connections with the member, with the workforce. Arrogant leaders focus on appearing superior, never being supportive. They need to look good blinds them to what the workforce blinds them, negating what the workforce really needs from them. But as they open up to listening and collaboration and shared purpose, management opens up to a free flowing communication of getting the job done. Why management's egotistical arrogance, know-it-all ignorance, rah-rah speeches unknowingly creates the challenges in the company. When leaders act like they got all the answers, their blind spots become company roadblocks. The louder the self-congratulating cheer, the more the overlooked issues fester quietly beneath the noise. And once things start festering, pretty soon they come to a head and they pop, and that's when a company has a lot of challenges. Know it all kills tell it all. Egotistical speeches shut down honest dialogue. Employees stop raising concern or fresh ideas because they don't care. Management takes the caring away from people. I witnessed that a lot of times on different jobs. You go on a job and you get one of them egotistical general foremen, pretty soon you go through the motions, but you really don't care. And today, management likes the sheeple people as leaders, but they never, because they're afraid, management's afraid to hear the challenges that'll get the job done. They want to stay inside the comfort zone of the plan. When somebody says that's not in the plan, that's when the job starts going south. And why educated, arrogant, rah-rah speeches destroys the workforce will to work. Educated arrogance cycles imposed in superiority, ensuring scripted motivation overrides authentic leadership. That's what this world is missing, is authentic leadership. Because most of the leaders in the business world want that title. They got titleocracy and herdocracy. They'll do whatever it takes to have the titleocracy. And, I listened to Steve Jobs, and he said something that was really ironic to me. He said when they first got started, Apple, they went for the pedigrees, the people that could interview, the people that could do everything and sounded good. Within 3 years, they never even invited them for an interview. He said they always looked for somebody that didn't want the leadership job and somebody that doesn't interview good because they have a hidden talent and audacity with the wisdom to do the job. They always looked for people that didn't want the job. They made them leaders and also managers. And he says that's when their company started doing very good. As superiority ensuring scripted motivation overrides authentic leadership. See, that's one thing this world doesn't have. I was in the union, they have no leadership. This country has zero leadership. Forced enthusiasm amplifies hierarchy rather than fearless empowerment, where structured validation suppresses trust and attuned engagement that magnifies limitless collaboration effortlessly. Why educated, arrogant, rah-rah speeches destroy the workforce. Because educated arrogance just cycles, impose superiority, and ensuring a rah-rah speech is scripted motivation and just overrides everything and causes all the and it really does. And the more I really get around it, Why college education lacks communication skills, causes an arrogant barrier within the workforce, creates misunderstanding between management and the workforce. Rigid academic structures prioritize theoretical knowledge over interpersonal adaptability, where formal instruction clings. Real world communication dissolves into hierarchical detachment. Rigid academic structures prioritize theoretical knowledge over impersonal adaptability, as institutional learning amplifies status driven discourse rather than collaborative connection and communication. Where egotistical arrogance cycles imposed authorities, workforce synergy erodes effortlessly. Why computers create insecurity in management and dissolves management ability to communicate human ways, communicate with the workforce, then communicate in a robotic way. Automated processes replace intuitive leadership, ensuring structured data cycles, reactive oversight, where common sense connection clings on to yesterday. Robotic efficiency dissolves nuanced communication. Digital dependency overrides interpersonal engagement, amplifying transactional interactions over attuned dialogue where we can actually communicate with each other. Where sovereign discourses sustains trust, artificial filtration magnifies detachment. Forced enthusiasm amplifies reactive hierarchy rather than fearless empowerment. Sovereign leadership sustains workforce vitality. And that's the thing. Sovereign leadership is authentic, articulating your wisdom to the people. And that's what we really, that's the thing. Management is so caught up in the here of yesterday, they can't communicate in here and now. And all the education, business education, all education is secondhand information. Understanding, get your hands dirty communication opens the way for the companies, people, and all facets of your life to thrive of success. Because, we got all this artificial uh, intelligence, but I use it, don't get me wrong. But I have to ask myself if I'm becoming too reliant on it and it's going to steal the innovative value from me. That's what I really concentrate on. And this is 7 reasons why management Rah Rah speeches demoralize the workforce morale. And I want to thank you and say good evening, and we'll see you Thursday night.